Hey everyone, it's Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone reminding you to watch Sports Ballers, the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond.
Latest edition of the Sports Ballers podcast. My name is Eric. I'm joined by Evan Nash and the Hall of Famer Corey Puffett.
Oh Jesus, we're gonna do this now.
It could become a thing. But anyway, yeah, we got a great show for you guys today.
Eric, you beat me to it. I was gonna do that next week.
You should have done it when you had the hosting duties 2 weeks ago, because it was over 2 weeks ago now. You had your window,
in the Hall
Ted.
of Fame yet?
Yeah, he was. When you were hosting, he was pretty sure.
No, that was.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, point is, early bird gets the worm. I got her done. Sorry, Evan. I stole your thunder, but that's the nature of the beast. Anyway, moving on to actual sports, and instead of us just self-aggrandizing here over who could be the most swift to congratulate Corey all the more for getting into the Hall of
as
Fame.
if you guys have not already congratulated me.
Hey, man, it's not every day that you get to sit with a Hall of Famer with the plaque sitting right in front of me. I mean, how could I not? It's right there.
Every Wednesday, though.
Yeah, it's just right in front of me. That's right. Corey's a Hall of Famer. Anyway, we got some NBA news to get to. A little bit of baseball postseason awards. Information came out. Haven't quite got to the hot stove season yet, but we'll be keeping you updated on that. And then, of course, all the football, college and professional. Mostly professional.
Especially professional.
But a little college. So we'll start with basketball. We'll start with a little bit of, I guess you could call this breaking news. So, according to Woj, ESPN sources say, suspended All-Star Kyrie Irving is nearing completion on the process needed for a return to play and could rejoin the Brooklyn Nets as soon as Sunday's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. That's wonderful. Moving on. So, let's talk about his teammate, Kevin Durant, who had some article out there, I think it was on Bleacher Report, where I guess he was talking about his current experience playing with the Nets. And he made sure to mention he's having a great time playing ball, but he literally named the starting lineup for the Nets, each individual by name, and said, what are people expecting with this group of players? Which, for those of you who don't want to dance around it, KD said, my teammates suck. That's what it came down to. Yep. And I tweeted the GIF of Falcon from Falcon and the Winter Soldier saying he's out of line, but he's right, because he is out of line. You can't be saying that stuff about your teammates.
No,
but they do suck. Like they're bad. They gave up 153 points to the Kings last night, so that's not great.
What?
Yes, buck fitted 3 to the Kangs.
The Kings bad too.
The Kings are surprisingly interesting. I'll say that they got dudes that can put the ball in the basket. They can't defend to save their lives, but they're currently 7-6. So take that for what it's worth. Oh. And they also beat Golden State one of the 3 times they've played them. Not that beating Golden State right now is
3 times already.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Not that beating Golden State right now is some hallowed accomplishment. People are beating Golden State right now. We'll see if they beat the Suns tonight. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, KD just out there throwing his team under the bus. Is this indication that he's not happy, that he wants a trade? I don't know. I don't really care. But it's out there. So what do we think about this, if anything at all?
I don't think very much of it. I mean, I agree with everything you just said. Like, you can't be throwing your teammates under the bus, especially this early in the season. Like, there's still a lot to play for. Like, your team is not looking good, but it's still way too early to be saying, yeah, our chances of making the playoffs are 0. When you have Kevin Durant on your team, your chances of making the playoffs are never really 0 until you're eliminated.
Right, and that's sort of the echelon that we put Kevin Durant in, where it's like, you're Kevin Durant. You're supposed to be able to make at least any team interesting.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not like these players are bad. They just don't fit. That's the biggest issue with the Nets, right? Like Joe Harris is a fine player. Now, coming off of the injuries he's had, we'll see if he can actually sustain being a solid starter in the NBA. But Seth Curry's pretty good. Ben Simmons is cooked. But, we've talked enough about him. And it should be noted the team played, at least for a little while, a lot better when Kyrie was out. And Kyrie remains to be out. Now, their last 2 games, they've lost to the Lakers, who were terrible, and the Kings, who are, fun, I guess. And they lost to the Lakers when LeBron didn't even play. Like, they got beasted by Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. So, not exactly a great sign there. But nevertheless, the team shouldn't be in this big a disarray, and there should be some level of expectations that they at least win enough games to crack the top 6 just because they have Kevin Durant. And if they don't do that, then I don't really have an issue with looking at Kevin Durant and saying, hey, man, this is a little bit of a letdown. I know he's scoring 31 a game. I know he's hitting all the big shots. He's still really efficient, but he comes with expectations. I mean, he's a 2-time champion, and for a guy who wants to be treated like a guy who's earned 2 rings, some people don't believe he really did. I'm kind of in between on that. He holds himself to that standard. Everybody else should too. So, don't be hating. That's all I got to say to you, KD. So we'll talk about some people who weren't hating. Jordan Poole was not hating on James Wiseman at all when he referred to Wiseman's trip to the G League as, quote, not a demotion.
I thought it was Wiseman who said that he does not view it as a demotion.
He may have said that too, but Poole was the most emphatic teammate of James Wiseman's that said, don't treat this like a demotion. It's not that, yada, yada, yada. And
so what is it supposed to be then?
it's a demotion. it's a demotion.
Honestly,
Did he get promoted to the Super NBA? What?
I can
It's
understand.
not a demotion, then what is it?
Yeah, I can understand Wiseman trying to spin it that way, but honestly, when a teammate says that, that just kind of comes across as condescending.
See, I don't agree with that because Jordan Poole specifically, his own journey in the NBA involved a trip to the G League, and it turned his career around, right? Like, he was a rookie with the Warriors in 2020, was rated by certain metrics as literally the worst player in all of basketball, kind of like James Wiseman now. And then he went to the G League bubble, which was a thing in the 2021 season, played there for a while, came back up with the team, and in his second year, he was a contributor off the bench for them. And then, of course, his third year, he becomes what he is now, basically, or what we think of Jordan Poole now. And so from his own experience, he's like, okay, I went down to the G League, and it turned my career around. Therefore, I don't see this as a demotion. It's still a demotion, though, man. You're being sent to a lesser team and a lesser league.
And the only reason that you're going there is because you are playing absolutely horribly right now.
You're unplayable in the current rotation.
And that's where I look at it as sort of condescending. It's not... I take your point that Jordan Poole is trying to put a positive spin on it and be like, look, going to the G League worked out great for me. So, why can't we assume that it might go great for Wiseman in the long run? And that's a fair point. But to try and spin it as not a demotion when it clearly is, when it clearly was when Jordan Poole was sent down to the G League. Bro, you got to be honest with yourself. Yes, it helped you in the long run. Yes, it was what was best for you. Sometimes a demotion is what's best for you, but it's still a demotion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's no way around it. It's a demotion. If
the word demotion hurts your feelings that badly, I don't know what to tell you. Grow some thicker skin, bud.
I mean, all I know is that when a player goes from the Major League roster to AAA, it's referred to as being sent down. And the opposite happens, you're called up. So, demotion, and the opposite is a promotion. This is not a promotion. This is you can't fit in our rotation, and you need minutes somewhere, so go play for the G League. And it worked out for Jordan Poole. It ain't going to work out for James Wiseman. And here's why I say that. James Wiseman's going to go down to the G League, and he's going to tear their asses up down there He's going to score 25 points a game. He's going to get a bunch of rebounds. He's going to block some shots. He's going to be the best player on the floor because he's the most talented dude out there. And then if and or when the Warriors opt to bring him back to the NBA roster, they're going to say, okay, you're not doing any of that here. You got to set screens. You got to run to the rim and be a lob threat. You've got to play defense. James Wiseman isn't going to learn how to do that in the G League. Like when Jordan Poole got sent to the G League, they basically said, go down there and do all the stuff we want you to do here, but just get better at it. That's not really going to be what James Wiseman's role is there, because in order to learn how to play NBA defense, you have to play NBA offenses. In order to learn how to set screens, you have to face NBA players who know how to navigate around your screens. He's bad at all of those things. Those things require years of development, and the Warriors don't have time for that, which is why, frankly, I feel bad for the guy. He's very talented. He's got a lot of potential, but he's in a place where most lottery picks, specifically a top 2 pick, aren't. Normally, a top 2 picks team stinks, so they don't really care if you go out there and make a whole bunch of mistakes.
And they're building around you to be like the star of the offense usually, not a role player.
Yeah, and even if your team is good, like there are situations where high-level lottery picks went to good teams that hoped to win virtually right away, like Jason Tatum with the Celtics, like Ben Simmons with the Sixers. The difference was that if Jason Tatum sucked his rookie year, he was actually surprisingly good. Most rookies are really bad basketball players because they have to learn how to play professional basketball, especially 19-year-olds. But Tatum was surprisingly really good as a rookie. But even if he wasn't, the team was young. The team was looking at a decade window, which they are currently still in, and are among the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. That's still going on. The Warriors don't have that kind of patience. They don't have 2 or 3 years to wait for James Wiseman to figure out how to be a professional center.
They're trying to get as many championships for Steph Curry as they can.
Yeah, Steph's going to be 35 in March. Draymond Green is in his 30s and wearing down. Klay Thompson's already been through 2 rough injuries. This window ain't going to last forever, and every year that you waste developing players who are going to be maybe your future post-Steph Curry, that can't be the priority right now. And it doesn't help James Wiseman or, to a lesser extent, Jonathan Kuminga or even Moses Moody when these guys are being asked to do something that in 5 years, when they're expected to be stars, that's not the role they're going to be playing.
Yeah.
Like, at least young rookies can come in and be bench players and say, okay, go do your thing over here. We'll accept some mistakes. Tyler Hero's an example of that. He is a rookie who was just like, okay, come off the bench, shoot some threes, get some buckets. We don't really care if you can't play defense. We'll deal with that, whatever. James Wiseman's role is specifically one that requires seasoning for this team. He's not going to be allowed to do the things that makes him a special talent. He's not going to be allowed to face up and isolate and post up and do all the things that people like about him. The fact that he's 7'1" and can shoot the basketball. But he can't shoot the ball as well as Steph Curry, so we're not running offensive sets for you if your name's not Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or even Andrew Wiggins. So he just doesn't fit, and frankly, I'd be surprised if he plays another game for Golden State. Like, I think they're going to have to ship him up out of there because he just doesn't fit, and it would be malpractice for the Warriors to continue down this path where I still believe when they drafted James Wiseman, they were planning on the window for this old core that they have being shut. They didn't think Steph and Dre and Klay were going to be able to win another championship, so they were like, let's take advantage of the fact that we can get these young assets and build for 5 years from now. Well, then they messed around and won a title. So now you have to change course. You have to understand, okay, we actually still have a championship core here. Let's do the best we can to provide them the support they need to go do the damn thing. And if you can't be a part of it, you got to go. So James Wiseman, he's got to go, and he'll be better for it because he'll be able to go to a team like the Spurs or whoever and rebuild and go out there and just say, hey, I'm going to get my 20 a night, work on my skills, still suck at basketball, but it'll be okay to suck here because, you know, that's the nature of the game. He's in a bad position. So that's all the basketball I have. I don't know if you guys have any exciting NBA takes off the cuff.
Wizards are winning the NBA Finals. Just kidding.
That would be something else. I've been watching. The Wizards are spunky, mainly because Beal's been out. I feel like when Beal goes out, they step it up and makes you wonder.
Ewing theory?
Oh, huge Ewing theory for the Wizards. Like, it's getting to the point where I might start breaking it down and be like, okay, this isn't a theory. It's observable why they're better without him. It's no longer, this is just something that happened. This is more like, okay, he legitimately makes them worse with his play, and I can point exactly how it happens.
It's not good.
Not great, especially for a guy who's earning $250 million and has a no-trade clause. Ouch. All right, so let's talk a little bit of college sports before we do a little baseball. We'll start with football, and obviously we've got to talk about the tragic news from Virginia, where 3 football players were shot and killed on Monday. Their home game against Coastal Carolina has been canceled. Totally understandable in the situation. All ACC teams will wear helmet decals and hold moments of silence on Saturday to honor the victims. And, you know, when the first I heard about this story, I just saw on Twitter, there's an active shooter situation. You know, we've talked about that. There's all kinds of, it's a human story. It's a political story to some extent. And I didn't think it would be a sports story. But it has become a sports story because it involves football players. And this is just awful in so many ways. I don't know what the motive was. I don't care. Doesn't really matter. There's no excuse to ever grab a firearm and start shooting innocent people. Like, that's, I don't know where you are in life that you decide to act like that, but there's no explanation for it because it's just the opposite of human behavior. It's monstrous behavior. And I'm sickened by this because we keep seeing this happen. It's happened in schools. This did happen at a school, or at least at a school function. And we've seen it happen in workplaces, at the grocery store. And at what point do we say the collateral damage for our gun obsession, enough's enough? When do we finally get to that point? It doesn't seem like we're ever going to.
I don't see how we can. Like, the things that have already happened in this country, if none of them were, the straw that broke the camel's back on this issue, what could possibly happen that would cause us as a nation to reverse course on that? I just can't see it. I don't even want to imagine how bad of a tragedy we would have to actually cause that dialogue to come to the forefront and start to make progress on that issue. Like, it would have to be absolutely catastrophic, and as if the things that have already happened have not been.
Evan?
Yeah, there've been so many people who've died because of gun violence that probably could have been prevented. I really don't have anything else to add other than what you've already said, Eric. I thought that was succinct. It's just really sad and really terrible. I can't even imagine, right? 3 football players, college football players, young men, just killed suddenly, and that's it. Just devastating, honestly.
No argument there, and there's no real appropriate segue to move on to trivial things like sports, but that's what we do here, so let's talk about the college football rankings. Georgia remains ranked number 1. This is the same top 4 as last week, actually. Now I'm just realizing that. Haven't been paying attention, but yeah, so for those who weren't paying attention last week or weren't listening or whatever, it's Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU ranked in the top 4. Then outside looking in is Tennessee, LSU, USC, Alabama, Clemson, and Utah to round out the top 10. Everybody in the top 4 is 10-0, which that is an interesting wrinkle here, especially because we know Ohio State and Michigan will be going head-to-head in a couple weeks. So, I mean, is there a chance that both of those teams from the Big Ten make it? Because it feels like they've certainly earned their place. I mean, what happens if Michigan loses to Ohio State by less than 7 points? You could still make a case that they're better than Alabama, right?
Oh, at that point they're absolutely still out
Well,
better than
Alabama's
Alabama.
toast.
The question at that point really is just are they still better than Tennessee, LSU?
Right.
Like Alabama's done.
Yeah, Alabama's cooked.
Yeah.
I don't know
They
why
got
they're
two
even,
losses.
I don't know why they even
lost to
bother putting them in the
Tennessee
top
and
10.
Somebody.
Yeah, so
LSU.
Tennessee's only
Yeah.
losses to Georgia, so they feel like they would be the team that could bounce Michigan out in that situation, or Ohio State if it goes the other way.
Well, yeah, because like Georgia is ranked higher than Ohio State and Michigan, so like that loss for Tennessee would be slightly less bad than Michigan losing to Ohio State or Ohio State losing to Michigan.
Yeah, but Tennessee's got wins over. Didn't they beat LSU?
Yeah.
Evan? Yeah, they beat LSU and they beat
They
Alabama.
rolled LSU.
So the question is like, do Ohio State or Michigan have one of those statement wins that can like help keep them ahead of Tennessee?
Well, both of them clobbered Penn State, so they've got that going for them. But Penn State's not as good of a win as Bama.
And they're not a top 10 team.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, we'll see,
Ohio
but
State's got Maryland this week.
they'll be able to pad their stats against the Terps.
Who does TCU have to deal with that could potentially cause them to fall out? Because
well,
why not Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Tennessee?
Well, because normally Oklahoma is the power of that conference, but they're cooked. Like their team was devastated when Lincoln Riley left for USC and took all the good players with them, and they seem like they've
They
kind
also
of.
lost to Texas 59-0.
Yeah, I think
or 49-0.
I mean, the fact that they got rolled that badly in the Red River battle, which they normally win easily, because Texas is not back, and they just that was a sign that they've quit, and you can't be out here quitting. I think.
If I was just a student at Oklahoma, I'd probably transfer at that point.
I mean, I think Venables is toast. He might be a one and done just because of that.
This is his first year.
Doesn't matter. You can't lose to Texas 49-0. The players quit on him. He's got to go. Bring back Bob Stoops.
Yeah.
So
I've pulled up TCU's schedule. They got Baylor this week. They have a home game next Saturday against your Iowa State Cyclones.
he's got the sweatshirt on.
To round out the regular
I
season.
am wearing the sweatshirt right now.
Yeah. TCU has clinched a spot in the Big 12 championship game. And then, let's see, Clemson, North Carolina, LSU, and Georgia have all clinched spots in their respective championship games as well.
Well, there you have it. So we got some games coming up. We'll start, as we always do, with Big Noon Saturday. Corey with the appropriate point cue there. Number 4 TCU, as Evan mentioned, is at Baylor. TCU is a road favorite, 2.5 points. So could be a doozy.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like you're ranked 4th, your opponent is not ranked, and you're only a 2.5 point road favorite.
TCU feels a little fraudulent. I'm gonna be honest. The Horned Frogs feel a little fraudulent.
If they only win this game by like single digits, could Tennessee go ahead and jump past them, even though they're 10-0?
I don't know.
Or they would be 11-0.
I don't know if the committee
No.
would get that cute. I don't think they would at this point. Like that's something you do in the first week where you're trying to make a big show of it, which is what they always do, and they did it again this year when they had when they had Clemson ahead of Michigan, which is just preposterous, and then that was immediately rectified when Clemson, who they lose to?
Notre
They
Dame.
lost to Notre Dame pretty badly and not great. So we've got that game.
I think
Go ahead, Evan.
I will say though, if whoever loses to the other one in the Ohio State Michigan game, I think they could fall behind a Tennessee team.
Well, that's what we were just talking
Yeah, I
about.
agree.
Yeah.
But that's assuming Tennessee wins out, which, they look like they should, but they're also Tennessee. So they're
They got Vandy and
okay,
somebody.
beat Vandy.
It's Cupcake Week in the SEC. So
Okay,
I don't know.
there you go. Yeah, that's right. They always have the Cupcake Week. All right, so we've also got number 7 number 7 USC at number 16 UCLA at the Rose Bowl on Fox. This is the crosstown rivalry for the Victory Bell Trophy, which I guess that's a thing.
It's an incredibly boring name for the rivalry. Like, come on. You couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah, like the Battle for Los Angeles, that's a thing in the NBA. That's a Rage Against the Machine album. Come on, man. Battle Los Angeles is a movie. It's not a very good one, but it's a movie.
Tennessee is at South Carolina, who's terrible.
Oh,
Tennessee
jeez.
minus 21.5.
So that should be a win.
Yeah.
And then Evan, clarify for me, is Tennessee rivals with Vanderbilt?
That's their game next week.
Okay, so they always play Vanderbilt for
in-state.
rivalry week?
Yes.
Okay, because I know they're in state, but I wasn't sure if that was a thing. Okay, good to know. And then
It's at Vandy.
and I think we'll see the same guy sitting up there in the nosebleeds by himself, and the score is like 63-0.
At halftime.
Yeah. So number 10, Utah. The Utes got back into the top 10 after that pretty pathetic showing against Florida earlier this year. Is at number 12, Oregon. 10:30 Pac-12 After Dark on ESPN. And then, Evan, your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are at number 13, North Carolina. North Carolina is laying 21 points. Y'all are on ESPN. You're on the deuce this week.
Yeah.
You excited?
Hoping for an ESPN 1 effort, but no, I'm not excited. Take North Carolina. Lay the points.
Lay the 3 touchdowns. Okay. No faith.
Our top 2 quarterbacks got hurt and are out for the season. There's only 2 more games.
That sounds like a Terps thing. The Terps love to have injured quarterbacks. So Talia Tagovailoa is playing through a knee sprain, and Billy Edwards, the backup, tore his ACL. So, yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, Maryland had one year where they had 4 quarterbacks all tear their ACLs. They had to put a linebacker in there at quarterback. Some guy went to Roosevelt. It was just awful. So that's all we've got for the college football. One quick note from college basketball. Terps are 3-0. Yay. It's been Cupcake Central, though, so not really a big deal. But still, at least they haven't lost. I think they covered, too. They covered on yesterday. I was there in the building.
They beat Binghamton.
Yeah, they beat Binghamton. I was disappointed. No Mr. Tony. He couldn't turn up.
Yeah.
Didn't leave the attic.
Either.
Yeah, whatever. So let's hop over to baseball. Talk a little bit about some things that have happened. Let's start with them A's, because this is technically an Orioles topic. Adley Rutschman finishes second in the Rookie of the Year voting. He received 1 first-place vote. We'll talk about that in a second. But the more important piece of info there is the fact that by rule, according to, I guess, the agreement or the new CBA or whatever the hell they're calling this recent year of baseball nonsense, if you finish at the top 2 in the Rookie of the Year voting, even if you didn't have a full year's worth of service time that you played, which Adley Rutschman didn't, he was called up in May, you are rewarded with a full year of service time. So Rutschman is only 5 years from free agency instead of the 6 that he normally would be heading into the 2023 season. So good for him, and hopefully the Orioles will actually do something and get the man paid and extended and make sure he's around here for a long, long time. So
I think this adds incentive for the Orioles to try to get a deal done with them.
I agree, because
right?
they've
Like
lost a year of
the
control.
deadline is a year closer.
Yep. So the winner of the Rookie of the Year voting, appropriately in my opinion, was Julio Rodriguez, Mariners center fielder. He had a terrific year. He got 29 out of the 30 votes. Runaway winner. And the one non-J-Rod voter went on Twitter and explained why he voted for Adley Rutschman. And Mariner fans were so mad. They were really worked up about the fact that their guy didn't get all 30 votes, and they're crying in their Cheerios about it, having a fit on social media because he only got 29 out of 30 votes. And what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? And one guy on Twitter decided to say, well, Mariners fans are still a little sore over Ken Griffey Jr. not getting unanimously inducted into the Hall of Fame his first year of eligibility. And I'm like, that was 7 years ago, man. Like, what has that got to do with anything? Not to mention, the Hall of Fame induction process is either you're in or you're not. It's either you're good enough or you're not. You're not competing against other players. Technically you could be, because it's like, oh, well, I only get 10 votes, so I gotta make them count. But in reality, it's, are you good enough or are you not? And so, yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. should have been inducted unanimously. So should a lot of players. Just about every franchise could point to at least one guy on their team and say, yeah, how the hell didn't that guy get in? Derek Jeter, Cal Ripken Jr., Frank Robinson didn't get inducted unanimously. that's pretty wild, right? Like, it happens, man. It's the stupidity of the Baseball Hall of Fame has nothing to do with this.
Now, let me ask you this. If Rodriguez had gotten all 30 votes, who finishes second in Rookie of the Year voting? Would Adley not get the full year of service time?
No, because they have second and third place
Adley would've been
votes.
second.
Oh, okay.
And so Adley still would have had second because he got the vast majority of the second place votes.
Okay.
So that's how that would have been adjudicated.
Because that would have been pretty wild. Like, by having a unanimous winner, now you don't even have, like, a second player getting a full year of service time.
Yeah, and like, part of it bothered me just because of the incessant whining. And another part of it reminded me of why I'm not a Mariners fan anymore. And like I said, it's not because of the incessant losing that they displayed. It certainly didn't help, but it was mostly because I didn't enjoy myself as a Mariners fan interacting with other Mariners fans. I thought that they were jerks. Like, Orioles Twitter, it's not like the Orioles are out here winning every year. They've sucked the vast majority of my life. They've sucked the vast majority of my life on Twitter. And I still enjoy Orioles Twitter, even though it can be a little
Generally
hectic
speaking.
at times.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, like, even when it's stupid, I enjoy it. Like, Mariners fans are just mean and grumpy and not fun, and, you know, just they don't like that. And it also feels, frankly, just a little disrespectful to our guy, right? Like, the suggestion that Adley Rutschman got 1 out of 30 votes, and somehow that is a huge slight to Julio Rodriguez, because how could you even compare Adley Rutschman to Julio Rodriguez? Like, there's some massive gap. Like, he's playing Pee-wee baseball here or something like that. I'm like, no. Adley Rutschman's on his level. Like, don't get it twisted, guys. Like, you guys can calm down. Your guy won. I would have voted for your guy. Back off. You know, it's just, people can't act right, man. They got to complain about everything. So
At least this silences the Cleveland Guardians official Twitter whining about Stephen Kwan every single day.
Yeah.
Because they don't play in a big market like Seattle or Baltimore.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Fortunately, they shut their mouths, and I didn't do I told you so to that clown that was giving me a hard time when I told him straight up, Stephen Kwan's got no shot to win this award. He's not even going to finish second. And the guy was like, well, that seems a little disrespectful to Stephen Kwan. He's like, dude, I'm not talking about what I think. I'm telling you how it's going to be. Okay? Go look at the Vegas betting odds here. Stephen Kwan wasn't even in third place. He was in fourth.
Oh.
A distant fourth behind Rutschman, who was or actually somebody else, I forget what his name was. And then who was a distant third to Rutschman, who was a distant second to Julio Rodriguez. It was like a 250 to 1 shot the guy would win the award. There's no way that's going to happen. So, you know.
Hey, it could happen.
I hate Stephen Kwan. And it's not his fault at all. It's entirely because of his fans. I hear Stephen Kwan and I'm just like, shut up, Stephen Kwan. like, the dude's going to go to the Hall of Fame one day maybe, and it's like in like 25 years there's going to be some old fart, and Stephen Kwan's going to be giving a speech and he's going to be super classy and nice after this amazing career, and I'm just going to be like, will you shut up, Stephen Kwan? Like, I hate you. Anyway, we'll talk about some other Orioles news. Brandon Hyde finished second in Manager of the Year to Terry Francona, who coaches the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Evan?
I said Terry Francona.
Yes. That's how it happened. Mm-hmm. And Mariners fans insisted...
Paused like you didn't know.
I said Terry Francona. Mariners fans are probably upset because they were insisting that Scott Service was going to win this award too, and, well, he didn't. So, sucks to be y'all nerds.
I just put that in there. I made that up.
No, but you're right, though.
Fans are upset, but they're upset about everything.
Mariners fans were insistent when people were suggesting that Brandon Hyde should win it. They're like, no way, man. Scott Service has it in the bag. I'm like, your team was almost a playoff team last year, and they went all in by signing Jesse Winker and Robbie Ray, or they traded for Robbie Ray, I think. Yeah, and then you made the playoffs. Whoop-de-doo, right? Like, the Orioles were supposed to win like 55 games again this year, and they ended up going above 500. That
83.
That's a legit case. Like, I'm not saying he deserved it over Terry Francona, because, you know, Terry Francona did a phenomenal job, and Terry Francona's great, but Scott Service, he's not entitled to this award, right? Like, come on.
I think
And,
Mariners fans need to have a decaf every once in a while. Y'all are either over boogieing, over caffeinated.
maybe take a vacation to somewhere sunny. How about that? Like Kings Island.
Or dry.
Or go to Carowinds. Get toasty like your boy. Still got
Yeah.
my fast pass tan light.
It's been 7 months.
6. But anyway, more Mariners stuff. This is probably the most we'll ever talk about the Mariners until next year. They acquired Teoscar Hernandez from the Blue Jays. I don't remember who they traded back to Toronto. I think they gave him a relief pitcher and maybe a prospect.
I didn't even look.
Yeah, I think it was a relief pitcher who's major league player and then a high A level pitching prospect, I want to say. But the main reason is the Blue Jays are moving Teoscar Hernandez because he's going to be a free agent after the 2023 season. And so I guess they're anticipating not being able to bring him back or not wanting to bring him back. So they're getting some value for him right now. So the Mariners get another key piece so that they can not beat the Astros. So good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move to the Marlins. Yes, the fish. We never talk about them. So the Marlins promoted Caroline O'Connor to president of their business operations. So this makes the Miami Marlins the first major U.S. sports team to have women simultaneously serving as president and general manager. As you listeners probably are aware, Kim Ng has been womaning that post, I guess, for 3 years now. Maybe it's less than that. And now we start with the giggle fits.
Yeah.
Corey is face.
Whose fault is
down.
that, Eric?
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I'm just a laugh factory here. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, speaking of the Marlins again, Marlins pitcher Sandy Alcantara wins National League Cy Young Award. That is pretty obvious. I think most people had that one like 3 months ago. And then Buck Showalter, our boy, wins NL Manager of the Year. This is the 4th time he's won the award. He's done it with 4 different teams, including the Yankees. I guess 2004 was with the Rangers, right?
Yes.
And then 2014 with DeMejuan, and then 2022 this year with the Mets. As Evan has noted, he's ahead of schedule. He got it done in the 2 of the decade instead of the 4. But maybe he's going to go down for doubles and maybe hopefully win a World Series so people can give Buck his due, right? Like our boy Dusty Baker finally got his cred. He got his ring.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So now we got to give Buck his ring. Let's do the right thing at Major League Baseball. Let's make it happen for Buck.
Yeah. The Hall of Fame asked Dusty for a toothpick from the World Series.
I'm surprised he never swallows it. He's always filling with it. I'm like,
how does he not choke on that thing?
It makes me really uncomfortable. I'm like, this man is going to swallow that toothpick, and this is going to be a shame when this old man is going to be gagging on a toothpick, and people are going to be hating so much. And I'm like, come on, just let Dusty be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all we got for baseball, because there's literally no baseball being played at the major league level or the minor league level. But they do have the Arizona Fall League. Is that still going on? Is that done?
No.
That usually lasts
Eston Kjerstad, Arizona Fall League MVP.
Yeah.
I don't know when that was announced, but yeah, the Fall League is over.
Yeah, Fall League never usually lasts long. It's usually like a couple weeks. So good for Heston Kjerstad. Shout out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Another Orioles prospect. Like what? I mean, you can't have too many players, but I mean, maybe this organization is headed toward an embarrassment of riches, right? Gonna have to trade some people to get some good pitchers in here, or develop them too.
Sounds good. Whatever they got to do. Like you said, can't have too many good players. So let's move to the National Football League. Start with the Ravens. They had a bye week, so they no football game this last week to complain about for Evan.
They didn't blow a big lead in the fourth quarter on Sunday, so
maybe they did in their own lives. Maybe they're playing Madden, staying fresh.
Or
Jeff
maybe
Saturday
they
plays
played for
Madden.
the Bills this week.
All right. So Evan, Mark Andrews, Gus Bus both practiced. You feeling good about their return coming up?
Not really, no. But
You probably shouldn't need them though. You're playing the Panthers.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't look what the line was, but I picked the Ravens minus however many.
Minus 13.
13. Okay.
Evan looks a little freaked
Sure.
out. Not sure if he likes that line.
We might see some more emotional hedging coming up when we get to the picks. So I guess we'll talk about other takeaways.
Well,
have you got anything else about the Ravens before we move on?
I mean, if they can't beat the Panthers by 13, then there's other issues, right? Like,
I would agree with that because the Panthers are horrendous.
PJ Walker,
Garbage.
But he's hurt. Baker's going to start.
Oof.
Yeah.
Baker's going to start.
Yeah.
Dante Foreman's been pretty good.
He's going to be baking up some turnovers.
Dante Foreman is like Derrick Henry light.
Isn't everybody like a lighter version of Derrick Henry, considering that he's huge and they're all lighter than him?
But I mean, like he's getting like 30 like carries a game. Dante Foreman is. That's like something we only see from Derrick Henry these days.
We saw it from Mark Ingram on Thursday Night Football when the Saints played the Panthers and I was playing you, and you were really mad because Mark Ingram got like 3 points from our scoring just from carries, and I was playing you.
That was like several years ago.
Yeah, that was also the Larry Donnell week.
That was literally.
Just making Corey mad.
I
Larry
hate Larry Donnell.
Played one game in the NFL.
He played more than one game,
Maybe
but
two.
He had one game like that actually like where he actually produced anything. That might have been his only touchdown ever.
no, he had 2 because he scored 3 touchdowns against the Commies on Thursday Night Football, which is why I traded for him. Brandon had him on his roster, and I was like, I need a tight end. Give me that guy. And I plug and played him, and he was horrible. Like, the whole year, he sucked. And except against Corey when he caught a garbage time touchdown to swing the game and have me win by a fraction of a point. Oh, my God. That was... See,
What year was this? Like 2014?
Yeah. It was the first year of me actually having a competitive team. Well, it was only the second year of our league.
And I had a great team that year too.
Okay, but you losing to me didn't affect anything. You were still the top seed.
Yeah.
And you still got worked by DeMarco Murray. Yeah.
DeMarco Murray was a beast.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about it, because
AFL
he worked me the next week. So,
AFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry,
From
Corey.
my team?
I bring up some bad memories while I laud you for being a Hall of Famer. You got to take the good with the bad. So we'll get to some Week 10 takeaways. We'll start with a mailbag question from Corey's wife, Rashonda, who asks, who's the better coach, Jeff Saturday or Josh McDaniels? And I'll start with this one because it's a great question. The answer is probably Jeff Saturday, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what happened on Sunday. It's just the fact that Josh McDaniels is one of the worst coaches of recent memory. And so
at least head coaches.
There's a big window for Jeff Saturday to fall in. We don't know what he is. He could be good, bad, in the middle somewhere. There's a big window that he can land in that's better than Josh McDaniels. The window to be worse than Josh McDaniels, really, really small. Like, there's not a whole lot of space there. So I'm going to lean Jeff Saturday just by virtue of the fact that he's a guy and Josh McDaniels is Josh McDaniels. Like, that's all that matters. I might be a better coach than Josh McDaniels. Just being honest. You throw my ass out there, I do a better job. I'm just saying.
Josh McDaniels is terrible, but I think Jeff Saturday's better, just because you are what your record says you are, and Jeff Saturday undefeated. I believe I had that as well, by the way.
Yes, you did.
But, yeah, I don't know what y'all were looking at.
I'm glad you're an expert of scraping the toilet bowl, Evan.
I mean, you failed to do that, so you know.
You're right, I did.
Expert scraping the toilet bowl. I'm sorry, Mr. What'd you do? 4-10 this week?
Yes, I
spread
did.
Or something.
Brutal, yeah.
God.
I'm glad I'm not giving out winners this year. Because I wouldn't be giving out any winners. I'd be giving out a bunch of losers. So
I'm pretty sure that Rashonda asked this question in jest primarily, but
well, we're gonna answer it.
But yeah, like it
Our
actually
whole podcast is in jest.
But like it actually was a good question. Like it's a fair question. Josh McDaniels is so bad.
It was bootylicious.
So I was reading something today that was talking about why the Raiders won't fire him, And it's because reportedly they are cash poor. They can't afford to fire him and pay another coach, which means that he's not only going to be their coach this year, but they aren't going to fire him after the season. He's going to be their coach next year.
Oh yeah, I knew that. Yeah, he's not going one and done. The messed up thing is, like, a guy who's like held that franchise together pretty much by himself by virtue of not just being a pretty good player but also being a great dude is Derek Carr. His ass is going to be up out of there after this year.
Which honestly, I'm kind of happy about for him because hopefully he'll go to a team that, like, where maybe he can have some success and where he's not like playing for Josh McDaniels.
I mean, talked about it. Maybe I don't know if we talked about it on here, but I definitely mentioned it in the chat. This was a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
Even with the John Gruden stuff, him getting fired appropriately, and the Henry Ruggs thing happened, which could have derailed this team. They had Pit Boss Rich as their head coach, and they made the playoffs. Now, did they really belong in the playoffs? Probably not, but
The Chargers gave them that spot,
well,
essentially.
well, the Chargers opted not to take a spot with them
True,
by
yes,
having the greatest of all time. But the real issue was the fact that the Colts blew it against the Jags in the final week, because if they win, they're toast.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're out. So that's really what happened. But nevertheless, they made the playoffs last year. They go out and get Devontae Adams. So they're like, okay, we made the playoffs last year. Let's go. They're chips to the center of the table. We're going all
Josh
in.
Jacobs actually plays well this year. Like, how is this
how
team
are you
worse?
going to ruin a Josh Jacobs year?
How is this team worse now?
Way worse. Like,
It's baffling.
Like,
the one thing that really bugged me this past week, though, like after the game against the Colts, was Jim Irsay's tweet,
your boy.
where
Irsay.
he basically is like, y'all wanted to question, my decision to hire this guy like it was some crazy hire. I'm like, no, dude, like, it still was a crazy hire. Like, you guys winning this game does not mean anything, and you of all people should know that, like, it doesn't mean anything to beat Josh McDaniels. This is a guy who was so scared that he didn't even, like, keep the job that you gave him for more than 2 days. He left 2 days later, went back to New England.
I don't think he ever even actually made it out of New England. That's why
he
he
very well
stayed.
may not have made it out of the airport.
The story was that he packed his locker, he's getting ready to go, and Bob Kraft and Bill kind of stopped by and said, "Hey buddy, can we have a little talk?" They convinced him to stick around for a little while, which, hindsight, good for the Colts. Obviously, they avoided that.
Yeah.
Not that they've had a whole lot of success outside of that, but Frank Reich.
But also, like, why did that conversation not happen until after he had accepted the job? Like, come on, like, don't accept a job and then back out of it.
I mean, we all agree Josh McDaniels is a clown, so, like, this.
Oh, big time.
Him doing this was not his first episode of clownish behavior. He had a whole tenure
Robert Kraft
in
is
Denver.
a bit of a clown too.
Oh yeah, and Bill Belichick does whatever he wants. So, if Belichick can twist a guy's arm to stick around for another year. Plus, I'm pretty sure Belichick hates the Colts, so he's going to do anything he can to stick it to them, which is
in any
appropriate.
case.
Yeah.
Jim
You should have
Irsay
let
should
them
know
hire
better.
Josh McDaniels then.
Jim Irsay should have known better. Like, that was a clown tweet.
Yeah, beating Josh McDaniels doesn't really carry much weight. A lot of people could do that.
No. Like, call me when he does it again. Like,
Against Josh McDaniels?
or against anybody, honestly. Like, I mean, like, this is nothing against Jeff Saturday. I like Jeff Saturday as a former player, as a person, and I don't know what he's going to be like as a coach. Like, the big concern was the way that he was hired, the fact that he has absolutely no head coaching experience, but, like, that unconventionality of it, in the first game that you coach can throw another team off, right? You don't know what to expect. You have no way to game plan for what the Colts are actually going to do in that situation. Well, now they've got some film. Now we have some idea of what Jeff Saturday is, strategizes as a coach, or whoever he's got calling the plays for him on offense and defense. And I would be much more impressed if the Colts win this week.
I'd be impressed if they win any games the rest of the year.
I would too.
Eagles, Steelers, Cowboys, Vikings, Chargers, Giants, Texans.
The Steelers are pretty bad.
That's going to be a lot
The
of
Steelers
losses.
is definitely a winnable game. But I would count that as an impressive win. If Jeff Saturday goes in, beats the Steelers and Mike Tomlin, I would count that as an impressive win. Certainly more impressive than beating the Josh McDaniels-led Raiders.
Yeah, if he beats Mike Tomlin, that's a situation where if you ask the question, is he a better coach than Mike Tomlin? I'm going to say, no, he's not.
Right.
Like, virtually no chance that that's true. So I've been scrolling around a little bit, so I got to get back to the sheet. Let's talk a little bit of
injury news.
Injury news, I guess, at the top. We'll talk about the injuries first, and then we'll talk about synthetic versus natural, which, whatever. So Cooper Kupp is heading to IR. He had a knee injury, right?
It's an ankle.
It's an ankle, okay.
Got a high ankle sprain.
Okay,
So he's having a surgery that's going to keep him out for like 5 to 6 weeks, which means that he could potentially be back as soon as week 15 or 16. But honestly, the Rams are already, 3-6, 3-7 right now? Like, they're basically they're almost out of playoff contention as it is. Without Cooper Kupp, I don't see that getting any better in the next few weeks. So they might just shut him down. Like, why bring him back for weeks? In week 15 if their season is already over? Why rush him back if you're not going to be on the playoffs?
Yeah, their season's cooked. I mean, it was cooked with them. There's no point in bringing him back, rushing him back from an ankle injury. Just put him on the shelf and see in 2023.
Yeah, unless they miraculously pull off, some wins in these next few weeks.
Don't count on it.
No.
And also, Khalil Herbert, the Bears, I hesitate to even call him a backup running back at this point.
They've been sort of a tandem, him and David Montgomery. In fact, in some ways, Khalil Herbert almost feels like the lead back these days.
Because I think he's no shade to David Montgomery, who's a fine player, but
he's been better.
Khalil Herbert's really good.
He's been way more efficient with his carries.
Yep. So sad to see him go down. Hopefully, he's able to recover as quickly as possible. And then Dallas Goedert could follow there to IR. I guess he. What happened?
He has.
Has he been placed on IR?
Yeah, because he's on all 3 of my fantasy teams.
Ouch.
So I'm not upset about that or anything. Told y'all he was going to be good. Let's see. So yeah, it happened on the missed face mask play.
Oh,
I guess he got his head sort of screwed around and it messed up his shoulder as well. I assume that's why he fumbled the ball. But yeah, so he's going to be out for some time as well.
Yep, and
great.
And Zach Ertz about 5 hours ago was confirmed out for the season.
Yeah.
So that was it. Had been reported yesterday, but or actually maybe even Monday, but Ertz wanted to get a second opinion. I guess he's gotten that second opinion, and so Cliff Kingsbury confirmed that he's done, which sucks because I just traded for him in our main league.
Oh.
I mean,
but. I did pick up Foster Moreau, though, and with Darren Waller hurt for some amount of time. All 3 of us, our tight end situations are just really bad. It's sad.
It's bleak. Yeah.
Yeah, bleak is
I'm starting Isaiah Likely, who's, not going to get a whole lot of looks, but he's healthy currently.
So he's not likely to contribute?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
likely not to contribute.
I was hoping that I'd be able to start David Bellinger, the rookie tight end for the Giants this week. But right after I picked him up a few weeks ago, he suffered an eye injury when somebody stuck. I don't remember if it was a foot or a cleat, but something went into his face mask. He had been doing pretty well, but he hasn't practiced this week. In danger of missing a 3rd straight game with that injury. So I'm glad that I got Foster Moreau as at least a backup, and he's a primary tight end. Not a great player, but a primary tight end. So,
target share, baby.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I got all 3 players that I wanted off of waivers this week.
It's been a low effort season for me on the waiver wire, as you could probably see by my record. It's pretty ugly. So there's a reason I went sell mode. All right, so we'll talk about this. Who started this? Was this Rodgers? The synthetic versus natural.
So it did not start with Rodgers.
I know it's been discussed in the past.
It's been a discussion for several years, and back in 2019, there was actually a pretty significant disparity between non-contact injuries that players were suffering on synthetic surfaces, turf primarily, versus natural grass. A very wide disparity where you were I don't know if it was twice as lucky, but you were significantly more likely to suffer a non-contact injury playing on turf than you were on grass. Each of the 2 years after that, the gap is narrowed to the point that in 2021, which we don't have full data for this season, we have full data for last season and for this past preseason, and both last season and this past preseason, the number or the rate of injury on turf versus natural grass were basically identical. They were within like a tenth of a percentage point of each other. So it only makes sense that as soon as the data is showing that there may not be a significant difference between the two, that resident expert on all things Aaron Rodgers would step in to add his voice to the discussion. Great timing, bro.
Aaron Rodgers
You
needs
can't
to
tell
take
how
a
much
little break
disdain
from...
I have for this man.
Oh yeah, Rodgers needs to take a little break from kissing his own behind, to just shut up for 5 seconds, please. Right? Just oh my God, I can't take this guy anymore. I prefer synthetic fields because it looks better on TV. That's really the only difference I sense.
I don't really care what the field
I'm
looks
sure natural
like.
grass is more comfortable or whatever, but
I don't really care what the field looks like as
synthetic
long
looks
as it's
better on
like
TV.
safe for the players. But like Washington plays on natural grass. Do I need to say
Oh
more?
my God,
Yeah.
no, you don't.
No.
I'll just say 2 letters and a number. RG3.
Well,
He didn't
RG3.
get hurt because of the turf, did he?
Well, when the coup d'état on his knee was because his cleat got stuck in the crummy grass against the Seahawks.
Yeah, like he'd already been hurt, but
Coup
like
de grace, I should say.
yeah, but like the play that actually like ended his season, that was non-contact when he went down. But yes.
Yeah, he was gonna. I should have just kept my mouth shut because now everybody goes, "Oh, Eric messed up again." Oh my gosh, a coup d'état. That's wonderful.
The coup d'état.
Yeah, there was a coup against RG3's knee, led by the Shanahans because they wanted Kirk Cousins more. I guess I don't know, we'll make a story out of that. Anyway, we've got some other news, I guess, right? The Bills, who aren't winning the Super Bowl now. I know what y'all are thinking. All year, y'all have said the Bills are winning the Super Bowl. All year, you've been saying nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Some teams might circle the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
And my response to you, when you say, "How does it feel to be wrong?" I'd be like, "Yeah, you're right. That's it. That's all you're going to get out of me. You're right. The Bills aren't going to win the Super
I
Bowl."
would double down and say I'm not wrong yet. But
It's
in that
getting
direction.
time to jump off the ship, man. The dinghies are out there. Might as well get on a lifeboat and go swim to Patrick Mahomes' ship because the Bills don't look like they're winning the Super Bowl, man.
Or the Jalen Hurts ship.
Sure, go ahead if you
No,
want.
it's Eagles.
Yeah. Lost to the commies.
They lost to Washington.
This used to be Washington's MO. Like, people were talking about them beating the 11-0 Steelers. The Steelers were frauds. The Washington team used to always beat the team that ultimately won the Super Bowl. Every year, whether it was the Packers, whether it was the Patriots, like whoever it was,
The
whether it was the
Ravens.
Giants,
They beat the Ravens, yeah.
Anybody who won the Super Bowl lost to Washington if they played during the regular season for like a decade straight.
Did the 2000 Ravens play Washington?
I don't think it was the 2000 season.
It was the 2012 season definitely happened because that was when RG3
Yeah,
got hurt.
and I know that like normally you would expect them the 2000 season,
Yeah,
they
but that was
but that was
before
before
divisions,
yeah, that was
before
before the
divisions, yeah.
realignment. So I don't think they played that year.
I was just curious. So yeah. Anyway, the Bills kind of looking kind of bootylicious. I'm just saying. You know, like they didn't look good against the Packers in the second half of that game, and they failed to cover. Like the first team in a long stretch of teams that failed to cover against the Packers was the Bills of all people, because they loafed around And then they played. Who'd they play the week after? The Jets? Yeah, they played the Jets.
The Jets.
And Josh Allen looked like crap in that game. Supposedly that's when he injured his elbow. And they lost that game. And so they had squandered the lead that they had earned over the Chiefs and basically had no room for error. And they immediately err again when they lose to the Vikings when they were up 27-10. Mm-hmm. So they blow that lead. And yet they still get a goal line stand to get this stop. And I'm like, okay, well, that's it. And it wasn't it. Josh Allen somehow fumbles on that play. How do you fumble on that play? Like, that's
Kyle Bowler.
It's literally your one job.
Like, all you have to do is hold on to the ball and not get tackled behind the line. Just bowl your big ass into the center and fall down. That's it. That's all you had to do. And he couldn't do that. And then they're able to recover and go down the field and tie the game with a field goal because they did have some time. And then the Vikings hit the ball first in overtime. They kick a field goal. Allen gets a chance to answer. He drives right down the field. And he throws what was, I think, his third spectacularly bad interception of the day. It might have only been his second, but then you throw in the fumble.
I think it was only his second. Yeah, had the fumble in there.
Hasn't he thrown the most interceptions in the league this year?
Yeah, he leads the league in picks. Yeah,
He's got 10.
Double-digit picks in only 10 weeks. That's not great. And he's only actually played 9 because they've had their bye. That's not good enough. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough. Like, for a guy who people, and I use people meaning you people out there in the ether, have tried to claim this guy is as good, if not better, than Patrick Mahomes. Like some idiot that was arguing with me on Twitter when I was simply respectfully saying I thought Patrick Mahomes was better. And he was like, nah, you're wrong. I'm like, bitch, please. I'm like, no. You don't get to sit there and tell me I'm wrong when I'm arguing the conventional argument. You know, the guy with the rangs and the MVPs who's played in the AFC Championship game at home every year that he's been starting is probably better than the guy who's lost 2 playoff games to him in that stadium, who has no MVPs, who has 1 AFC Championship appearance and got shellacked by that guy. I'm sorry. Who's the better quarterback? Who's the best quarterback in football?
Josh Allen.
Exactly. That's how you sound. Don't sound like that version of Corey, because he wasn't being serious. I hope not.
No, I was not being
I
serious.
didn't think so. Like,
I was being that other guy.
yeah, being that guy. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't typically root for the Chiefs because, I don't know, I'm just kind of over the Chiefs. I hate their fans. The stupid,
Tomahawk
chop. Yeah,
still.
which is just frustrating. They booed Unity in 2020.
That was particular.
And their fans are particularly
that
obnoxious on social media as well. Like, after they lost the 2020 Super Bowl because they literally didn't have a single healthy offensive lineman, and they were,
to be fair, like, I never really equate the two, but like these are probably Kansas City Royals fans too.
Oh yeah,
and we don't like them.
Well,
No,
we don't like them. I don't know why you have a beef with them.
I don't like them either. They were booing Robinson Cano.
Oh, that's right. You're still pissed about that.
Yes,
yeah.
of course I'm still pissed about that.
That's
Who wouldn't
fair.
be pissed about that?
I don't know. And you might be tired of Robinson Cano because he left your team and then he did steroids. I'm just saying.
he went to the Mariners.
It doesn't matter. He was with us and he was not doing steroids at the time.
Maybe. Anyway.
Because he had that right field wall in 2009.
Oh, yeah, that's
cans
true.
of corn
That's true. Robinson
zooming
Cano
over the fence.
was the
Remember
leading
that?
perpetrator of wall scrapers in New Yankee Stadium. Like, he was the reason we found out. We were like, damn, those are routine fly balls that Robinson Cano's hitting over the fence. Mark Teixeira took advantage of that a little bit too, but it was more Cano because Cano was always batting lefty. Anyway, so what the hell were we even talking about? Oh, the Chiefs.
No idea.
Yeah, anyway, so I have a beef with Chiefs fans because I was on Twitter after the 2020 Super Bowl, and it was free agency time, and they're talking about, oh, they're going to spring a whole bunch of money to go sign a bunch of good receivers. May I remind you, they still had Tyreek Hill, and they had Travis Kelce, and again, they had just lost the Super Bowl primarily because nobody could protect Patrick Mahomes. And I said, There's no way in hell the Chiefs are going to spend any cap space they create to sit there and sign a receiver when they just lost the Super Bowl because they couldn't protect Mahomes. They're going to spend that money on linemen. And these idiots got all up in my mentions saying, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and getting all up in my face. And what did the Chiefs do?
They traded for Orlando Brown.
They traded for Orlando Brown, and they signed Joe Tooney, who was an all-pro lineman from the Patriots, and that's where they spent their money. They didn't acquire a single noteworthy receiver that offseason. I didn't get my apology, Chiefs Kingdom. Where y'all at? Just saying. Y'all didn't know squat. Same with you Bills fans who thought Josh Allen was better than Patrick Mahomes. Come on, man. Give me a break.
The
Is
Bills
Josh
are in
Allen-
third place in the AFC East
That's
now.
true.
Is
they are.
Josh Allen better than Joe Burrow right now?
I'd still say he's better than Joe Burrow.
Okay.
I'd still say he's better than Joe Burrow.
Okay.
That's tough, though. Like, Joe Burrow doesn't get enough respect.
Is he better than Tua right now?
No. No, he
Tua's
can't
playing
be.
out of his mind.
I refuse to say that anybody is better than another player when there's about a 40-point gap in DVOA between the two guys. Like, that's the reality. Josh Allen's DVOA has dropped to like 13. Tua's is in the 50s. That's only happened, I think we talked about on here, 5 times? 2 Manning, 1 Brady, 1 Marino, and Tua. That's it. So 5 times, if it holds. 4 times before this would be the 5th. Insane.
I hope he keeps it up. Like, this is fun. Like Tua looks like the video game version of himself that we saw at Alabama.
Well, it's mostly because he's throwing to
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
He's throwing to the best receiver. Like, there's something seriously amiss when Jalen Waddle's the slow one. like what? How is that possible? But here we are. But to his credit, he's balling out. He's playing with a level of confidence that he didn't have before. You got to give credit to Mike McDaniel, even though, And obviously you give credit to Tyreek Hill, but you also have to give some credit to Tua. The thing is, like, last year, Tua had them winning games. Like, you remember they started, 1-7? They were terrible. But most of that time, Tua was out with injuries, or he wasn't playing, or whatever. And then he came back, and, sorry to bring this up, Evan, but they beat the Ravens in that, Thursday night game.
Yep.
That was more just because
that
Greg Roman didn't know how to handle blitzing. That was awful. But, Tua racked up a bunch of wins, had them almost sneak into the playoffs, and then Brian Flores got fired, and, we still side with Brian Flores because we thought he got, screwed over.
Closed.
But he also deserves a little bit of heat for the fact that he couldn't develop Tua. Right?
Didn't really seem all that interested in trying to develop him, quite honestly.
Yeah, he dismissed Tua. And Tua looks...
Kept benching him for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I thought that was insane at the time. I was like, you can't bench the rookie once you brought him in unless he's hurt. Like, you can't take him out of the game because you're like, well, we actually think this 15-year journeyman who couldn't stick anywhere, he's better than you, so we're going to roll with him. He gives us a better chance to win. No, you don't get to say, this guy gives us a better chance to win. This is your franchise quarterback, potentially. You've got to play him.
It's amazing that Tua has the confidence that he does after that.
Yeah. He should be a wreck. But, again, Mike McDaniel deserves some credit for potentially rebuilding that confidence in Tua. And Tua deserves credit for being that resilient. And, of course, it helps to have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So, and Raheem Mostert, he's fast, too. That dude can scoot. Like, it's speed all over the
And
place.
Jeff Wilson now. He's got some speed.
Like, what's going to happen when people have to go play down there in Miami in the playoffs, potentially? Because that could happen, right? The Dolphins are in first place, which means that they would be playing... Actually, no, I think the Jets are actually in first place, which is hilarious.
The Dolphins are in first because the Dolphins have 7 wins. The Jets only have 6.
Oh, okay. Because I knew the Jets beat the Dolphins in one of the games.
Yeah,
Tua
the Jets
wasn't
are in
there.
third.
But no, the
Bills
Bills
are
are
in third.
Are the Bills are in third now?
Yeah, because the Bills lost to the Jets.
Ah, right.
So,
Jeez.
what's going to happen, though, if in Miami they have a playoff game, they've got that ridiculous stadium that gives them like a 30-degree advantage because they're chilling in the shade while the other team's out there dying, and they're having to chase around Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Would you want to play that team in those conditions in the playoffs? I don't think so.
No.
Sounds like trouble. Just saying, the Dolphins, maybe they're winning the Super Bowl. Maybe nobody circles the wagons like the Miami Dolphins, which doesn't have the same ring to it, but
It does not.
just saying. Look out for the Dolphins. Okay, so let's get to our eliminated team, which is going pretty horribly from my perspective, at least. I obviously sucked again this week, so I'll be picking last again. None of us were good, let's be clear. We were all terrible, but I was the most terrible. So I will hang my head in shame while Evan kicks us off. So I guess I'll bring us up to date here. Evan is at 75 wins for the year. Corey's at 72. He has passed me the last couple of weeks because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I'm at 70. And even worse, the fan contest has closed the gap
Big time.
on ya boys, particularly ya boy here, Eric. Because I am only one win ahead of James Daly, who has a very nice 69 points.
Nice.
Yes, I said it was very nice. And, at this rate, he's going to pass me. At this rate, Drew's going to pass me because he keeps winning the fan contest, and he beat us with 7 wins.
Third week in a row for Andrew.
7 and
Oh,
7
geez.
is, I think that's pretty good considering that we can't come close to that, apparently. We don't know what the hell we're doing. Anyway, Evan picked the Giants to beat the 5-point line against the Texans, and he also nailed the Colts to beat the 6-point spread versus Vegas, which they did. Where the Colts were favored?
The Colts were underdogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did we pick the Raiders, Corey? What were we doing?
That's a good question.
That was dumb.
Because of Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
But that was dumb. Like, this thing I said about how he's probably better just by the fact that Josh McDaniels is Josh McDaniels, that still applied.
But you didn't
but we
say that
didn't say that
week.
last week.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I should have.
last week.
I should have said, we don't know what Joe Saturday is, but we know what. I just didn't. That's bad. That's shame on me.
Shame on us.
me. Yeah, but I made the
y'all,
point
right.
though, so I don't know what you were thinking. I know what I was thinking, and it wasn't the right thing. Okay, so Evan, you have eliminated the Texans, the Jets, the Panthers, the Falcons, the team, commies, the Steelers, the Lions, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Packers. So who you got this week?
This week, I mean, it would be too easy to pick the Chicago Bears because y'all picked them already. So I'm going to eliminate the Los Angeles Rams. It's over, man. Like, Stafford's got the elbow and the concussion. If Cooper Kupp is out, he's their whole offense, right? Like, they cannot move the ball unless Cooper Kupp has the ball. So, they're not going to be able to score any points. Their defense is terrible. So, like, there's nothing here. They're done.
Yeah, I've said it a couple of times. I thought that when they traded for Stafford that this would be a 2-year window. That has very rapidly turned into a 1-year window. And glad that they cashed in when they could. But, they got pretty lucky to do that. Like, they could have easily lost to the Bucs. They could have easily lost to the 49ers. They could have easily lost to the Bengals. And then they would have been, a no-time champion. So, so how you feeling, Evan, about the Jets? That seems like the most blaring concern for you.
Yes, which is
Also
kind
the
of
team.
a surprise.
Yeah, it's the team
The
as
team
well.
as well. They're 5-5.
Are the commies in playoff position?
They're close.
Yeah, and the rest of the NFC sucks.
Yeah. They're in the mix.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
okay.
But yeah, the Jets are definitely the bigger concern for you. But
The Jets would be the 5 seed.
You'd also be missing out on the most points with
let's see.
them.
Washington.
because they were your second team to eliminate.
that is true.
Yeah.
Whereas Eric and I are both in a lot of trouble with our first teams.
I think you're in more
Yes,
trouble than me. But
Exactly.
Maybe, but still, both
All
of
right.
us are in trouble.
Well, you're up. So Corey has eliminated the Giants, the Panthers, the Falcons, the team, commies, Texans, Lions, Raiders, Browns, da Bears, and last week eliminated the Colts. Corey, who you got?
One.
Yeah, they won. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate a third AFC South team and say goodbye to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So you're all in on the Titans winning that division.
Yes, I am.
I think that's probably a good place to be because
Yeah, it makes sense.
So the Jaguars have 2 games left against the Titans. They also have a game against the Cowboys. And they have a game against the Jets, plus the game this week against the Ravens. And I wouldn't say that they're a guarantee to beat the Lions. So that basically leaves the Texans as the only
Ravens are playing.
really winnable game.
Yeah. Ravens are playing the Panthers this week. I think Jags is next week.
Oh yeah, Jaguars are on a bye week this week, and then they play the Ravens next week. Yeah.
The Jags are coming off a bye. Great. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so now that I've had plenty of time to get my thoughts together, I've eliminated the Seahawks, the Falcons.
First place.
No.
Falcons are fine. Da Bears,
Maybe oof.
the Jets.
Got the Jets on here too.
Yes, I do. Not as early as you, but I got them. The Steelers, that's fine. The Raiders, the Broncos, not worried about them. Panthers, Lions, Texans, and I had a team. Now I gotta remember who it was. yeah. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures, and sometimes you gotta cut bait, even when you love them. The New Orleans Saints, y'all are done. D-U-N, done.
I was gonna take them if Evan eliminated the Jaguars.
They're toast. Which means I've eliminated all non-Buccaneers teams from the NFC South. So, 45-year-old divorced dad better come through for your boy. I'm just saying.
It's a bad division. A bad team is gonna win no matter what. It's just a matter of which
The Bucs
one.
feel
Which is why I only said partially in jest oof to the Falcons, because they could beat the Buccaneers.
Yeah, but the Bucs already have a win over them.
They still gotta play again.
Yeah, but I feel like the Falcons are trending the wrong way.
Maybe.
And whereas the Bucs,
They had a pretty
Where are
good
the
win
Falcons
this past weekend, but still.
what was that, Evan?
How are the Falcons trending at all? They've I think they are who we thought they were.
Yeah, but they've also won more games than we thought they would. So there's that. They've been vexing.
I mean, the Falcons do that every year, though. They went like 7-10 last year and totally ruined their.
They've done that the last 5 years, and I love it so much. It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And the one year they actually messed around and had a terrible record, they drafted Kyle Pitts and decided not to throw to him. It's so
I
good.
cut him in one of my fantasy leagues yesterday.
It's so good being a Falcons hater. Like, it really is. Okay, so that does it for our eliminate people. So let's do a little best and worst before we get on to our picks. The best quarterback of Week 10 per Football Outsiders Quick Reads was Patrick Mahomes, hon.
Tua barely missed back-to-back at the top.
It was probably due to Mahomes probably had a rushing edge.
Yeah.
I would bet that to be the case because Tua's passing was, as typical, phenomenal.
Yep.
And then the worst quarterback was Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson. I didn't really watch this week, to be honest. So who did the Broncos play?
The Titans.
What the hell was the score of that game?
I don't even remember.
17-10 Titans.
Yeah, it was another Broncos lose despite their defense balling out because, well, Russell Wilson sucks.
Russell Wilson.
Is that
That's the
Sean
way-
Connery or something?
No, that's the way that the fantasy footballers say it.
Are they trying to do Sean Connery? Is that the joke? I don't know. Okay, so our best running backs by total DYAR, James Conner, who had himself a day against the Rams. And then worst was Tyler Algier, who I liked Tyler Algier, but rough week for him. Who did the Falcons play?
No idea.
Corey doesn't.
Somehow.
This is how much we don't care about the Falcons. Even those of us who actually watched the Red Zone this week don't remember these things. Okay, so worst running back or best running back by rush was James Conner. Worst running back by rushing only was Saquon Barkley, which
So, I mean, Saquon Barkley had a really good fantasy day, but he had a huge penalty because they're playing the Texans. And then on top of that, out of like 35 carries he had, I think he only gained a first down on 9 of them.
so he had a low success rate.
So he had a low
probably.
success rate.
Well, That sounds like his rookie year where he was a fantasy beast just because Eli kept flipping him the ball, and if you had PPR or half PPR, he'd gain like 2 yards on each one of them. Like, they wouldn't be good football plays, but it's 0.7 points.
Yep.
So there you go. So the
The
best
Falcons played at the Panthers last Thursday night.
Yeah, that's why I don't feel so bad
Don't
about.
blame me for missing that one.
Yeah, that's why I don't feel bad about eliminating the Falcons. They're losing to teams like that. All right, so for pass catchers, CeeDee Lamb, who was most recently traded by your boy to Brandon, was the top receiver of the week, and then adding insult to injury, literally in this case, Cooper Kupp was the worst wide receiver of the week. Did he have a fumble or something? Like, what happened to him?
He had one catch for -1 yard or something like that.
Oh,
So
okay. How many targets did he have?
maybe 3.
Nobody knows. Okay. That just surprised me
Yeah,
that
he got hurt early.
it just surprised me that a guy that only had a couple of targets would be ranked that low. Normally it's somebody who got targeted 10 times and only had like 2 catches for 15 yards or something. Corey's going through it right now.
When you go backwards,
Yeah, going backwards is never ideal, but All right, so let's get into our picks. We've got Thursday Night Football. The Titans are at Green Bay. Packers are laying 3 as the home team. Evan, putting you on the spot for this one. Who you got?
Mhm.
I might
have
just
all my
copy your
picks
pick because you're doing
written
better
down,
than me.
So, huh?
I might just copy
What?
yours. That's why I'm kicking it to you first because you're doing way better than me. So,
Oh, okay.
well, 5
I
games
got the
better, yeah.
Packers laying the points. Thursday Night Football is weird, and road teams on Thursday night have a huge disadvantage.
You
so-
fool. Fade
and
the
like
Packers.
Okay, but like Southern teams going to play in Green Bay, that's not going to be a fun time.
I don't care. Fade the Packers.
Yeah, that Southern
Seen
team though.
stuff before.
Nashville isn't like Miami.
Yeah, it's not balmy down there. It gets pretty cold in
It
its
gets
own
pretty cold,
right.
and they've also got a smash mouth offense, which plays better in the cold. Fade the Pack was working. It hasn't worked the last 2 weeks. They covered against the Bills, and they beat the Cowboys straight up, which
That's okay. I still
Corey's,
say fade the
Corey's
Pack.
sticking to his guns. Tannehill's back, which is a relief because Malik Willis is terrible. I'll go with the Titans. Evan can increase his lead.
Okay.
That's fine. If Evan wants to, just kick the crap out of us all season, here you go. You're just gonna tee it up for you at this point.
Well, now we got to watch this game tomorrow night.
Sunday's high in Green Bay is 28.
Well, I guess we were going to
Oh,
have to watch
this
it
game's tomorrow
'cause
night.
Evan and I went opposite directions, but yes. Anyway,
All right, so let's move on to.
The high's 29 tomorrow.
I mean, I feel like that affects the Packers more than the Titans, to be honest. The Packers don't play well in the cold either. That's why they never win home playoff games. Just saying.
Oh.
Okay, so Bears at Falcons, which is just not a very good game at all. Although the Bears are exciting, baby.
Bears have been very exciting lately, and I'm
They've been a
confused
thrill.
by this line. I'm wondering if this has anything to do with Khalil Herbert being on IR now.
I can't imagine to move the line that much.
I wouldn't think so.
All right, well, you go first then, Corey. Since
I'm
you're...
taking the Bears. Like, Justin Fields has been fantastic for 2 weeks in a row. He's been doing a really good job running the ball for the past month. Throwing is still a little bit shaky at times.
Pick six was bad.
The pick six was bad, but he has generally been better throwing the ball over the last few weeks. And the Falcons are just bad. They're just bad. Like, the Bears at least have some exciting things going for them. The Falcons don't really have that. Like, I guess Cordell Patterson being back helps the Falcons line a bit. But I don't know. It's not like the Bears defense is trash. A lot of the reason that they were struggling early in the year had to do with how bad the offense was and the fact that their opponents always had the ball. But over the past couple of weeks, the Bears defense has actually looked decent. So, yeah, give me the Bears.
Has it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm picking the Bears for all the reasons you said, but I think the Bears defense is hot garbage. Like, they played bad, and then they traded away Roquan Smith and Robert Quitt. Like, they Their defense is bad. Like defense is exciting. The Falcons are awful, man. Like, ugh.
I always regret
Some
it.
idiot sat in this basement. Some idiot sat in this basement and watched that whole game last week. Wherever that was, and Marcus Mariota threw the worst pick six that didn't count that I've ever seen. Like, he got slightly tripped up a little bit, whirled around, fortunately fell on his butt to be down, but in the process just heaved the ball in the middle of the field.
He looked like a shot putter who fell while he was trying to throw the shot put. That's literally what he looked like. He just
Falcons receivers
he
at
threw
all.
it blindly. He was spinning at in order to put torque on the ball or something.
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, so of course that's intercepted and just run down the sideline for a touchdown. But it was reviewed and he was down. But oh my God, you mean to tell me I want to lay points with that guy as the quarterback? No, sir. Give me the Bears.
I mean, the Falcons are getting 3 probably because they're at home, but
These two teams are not
Falcons
even
-3.
on a neutral field, in my
yeah,
opinion.
but the Falcons don't even have a home field advantage because nobody shows up.
Well, I went to one of the games. They're playing my team.
Well, okay, but nobody that actually roots for the Falcons shows up. Let's
Right.
put it that way.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's no home field advantage, which means you would have to make me believe that the Falcons are actually 3 points better than the Bears, and they're not. So, da Bears. Okay, we'll move on to Panthers at Ravens. Ravens are laying 13 points. That's a lot of points for a team that can't hold leads. Oh, my goodness. Corey's already penciled Panthers in.
Yeah, I don't need to think about this one. The Ravens, they're not good enough to beat a team by 13 points right now, especially when you're dealing with a Mark Andrews who, even if he plays this week, is going to be hobbled. Like, he played in their game 2 weeks ago, and he was bad. He didn't do anything at all. Complete no-show.
Andrews didn't play in the Saints game.
What's that?
Andrews didn't play in the Saints game. Andrews last played in the Bucks game 3 weeks ago.
Oh, whatever game it was, he was not good. And he's not even guaranteed to play this week. So if he does play this week, he's going to be playing hurt, and he's going to be not good again, most likely. And Gus Bus isn't that great to begin with, and he's hurt and not guaranteed to play this week. Nah, the Ravens should win this game, but they're not going to win by 13.
You said he most likely won't be good. I say Isaiah likely will be good. So I'm going to take the Ravens. I just wanted to make that look.
I mean, the likely puns are
They're
not
easy.
unique to this podcast.
Likely won't be good,
Yeah.
but, whatever.
Low-hanging fruit, but, we're a bunch of
Yeah.
low people, so, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Except for the Hall of Famer,
That's-
Corey Puffin.
That is what we did. Give me the Ravens. If the Ravens can't beat the Panthers by 14, there's problems. I mean, the Panthers are really terrible. Ravens coming off a bye as well. So yeah, Ravens at home. Roll.
So I picked the Panthers to cover a gratuitous spread against the Bengals, and well, how'd that work out?
It was 42-0.
It didn't. I'll tell you that's how it worked out. And considering
Another
the fact
correct
that
pick for your boy.
yes, given the fact that the Baker is back in the lineup, cooking up some more turnovers, I don't think he makes them better than PJ Walker. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lost the job. So, I'm gonna take the Ravens, Hon. All right, so now we've got Browns at Bills. And normally I would say, wow, an 8-point spread for the Bills after they just blew a game the previous week. And this line actually looks like something that has factored that in, because normally I would expect the Bills to be favored by like 17 points against the Browns. But they're only favored by 8, which means this is what we call a get-right game in the vernacular. So I'm going to take the Bills to cover this line. The Browns are awful. Josh Allen looked physically fine. Mentally, but he's always been a little bit of a gunslinger. But yeah, I don't care. The Browns are terrible. The Bills, if they want to prove to me that they're going to actually win the Super Bowl and that nobody circles the wagons like them, I don't think they're going to do it this week, but they can definitely beat the Browns, -8. It should be fine.
I am going to go ahead and disagree with you, Eric. I've got the Browns plus the 8. It is supposed to snow in Buffalo, so that leads me to believe that there's not going to be a whole lot of scoring in this game. So it'll be close. The Bills should win because the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl and nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. But give me the Browns and the points.
Those two arguments don't make a lot of sense. But anyway,
Evan, you're still on the Bills to win the whole damn thing.
Well, yeah, he said that earlier.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he's doubling down on that. So there was snow in the Bills game this past weekend against the Vikings. Not a ton of it. But there was
supposed to accumulate.
But there was. But yes, Evan is right. This week they're talking about 5 inches or more of snow on the ground for this game, which is pretty significant at that point. Definitely slows down the passing game, turns it into much more of a running game, which means that Nick Chubb is going to eat. Don't need to rely on Jacoby Brissett, who has been serviceable but not great. Like 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions through 9 games. It's not great quarterbacking, but he's gotten the ball to his receivers when he needs to. It's definitely going to cause me to have to think about whether I'm going to start Donovan Peoples-Jones this week for fantasy, but I'm taking the Browns in this game to cover the 8 points. Definitely taking those 8 points.
Are we sure the snow makes that big of a difference, though? If we're keeping it real. We've seen some excellent, dominating quarterback performances in the snow.
Accumulating snow, though?
Yeah.
Like, that prevents you from running?
Yeah. It prevents
You can't
the
score a
defense
lot
from
of
catching
points
up.
that way.
You can score plenty of points that way. I watched the Patriots go 48-0 or whatever on the friggin' Cardinals. Happened. 59-0 against the Titans. Brady threw 6 touchdown passes in the first half. It happens.
Well, because the Titans suck.
The Browns suck.
Anyway.
I'm just saying. I don't get caught up in the snow.
That's true.
What will scare me off of a high-flying passing team is big-time wind, which we saw when the Bills played the Patriots last year, and that was still just really pathetic that they couldn't win that game. But whatever. But yeah, I'm still going to take the Bills purely because the Browns are inept and they're going to mess this up. Also, I don't like Kevin Stefanski either. He's, again, flying under the radar because of Brandon Staley.
You still haven't gotten done screaming at him from when we went to the Ravens-Browns game.
That was so bad. That was so bad.
Yeah.
You know I'm right about that. You know I'm right
I
about
agree
Kevin
with
Stefanski.
you at the time.
Yes. You knew. I knew. We all knew. That was dumb. Commies at
Unnecessarily
Texans.
cute.
Yeah. Commies are fetching 3, or laying 3, I'm sorry. And actually not that surprised now that I think about it. They're laying 3 on the road against the Texans. Chase Young is back. Taylor Heineke is here to stay, hopefully.
Well, 3 hours ago they announced he is starting this week after a lot of hemming and hawing by Ron Rivera.
Why was there any hemming or hawing?
I don't know.
It should have been pretty straightforward. This guy wins. The other guy sucks. Evan,
you would
kick
think
it to
that
you
would be
first.
pretty convincing.
Evan, who you got?
Commies. They had an impressive win against Philly, in Philly. The Commies played their best game and probably had to play their best game to beat the Eagles in Philly. They don't need to play their best game to win by 4 against the Texans. If Heineke doesn't turn the ball over and they just hand it off a bunch, and they tackle people, that's it. That's all I have to do to beat the Texans. By 4.
Yep. Give me the red wave of the communists.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm
The
going
Crimson
Washington.
Tide, I guess.
Yeah. It's more like a political pun. Of course, maybe I may have just jinxed myself since the red wave did not happen. It may not happen with this pick now.
Evan can't see me. I'm
confusing.
I'm
Eric
very
is-
frustrated with all of that. Commandos. Let's move on. Eagles laying 6.5 at Colts. This is I won't call it a Nick Sirianni revenge game, but this is where he came from. So, he's back in town with his, new squad doing better things, right? So, Jeff Saturday, credit to him, got a win week 1, or his week 1, I guess.
Yeah.
The Eagles are actually good, and Nick Sirianni, to our surprise, might actually be able to coach. Josh McDaniels, to no one's surprise, can't coach at all, except for Mark Davis' surprise, apparently. I think the Eagles bounced back. I mean, last week they lost, but they had a lot of things not go their way.
They had a lot of fumbles by receivers in that game, like 3 of them.
And the A.J. Brown interception where it's like, he threw it into double coverage, but he put it on A.J. Brown's hands, and somehow somebody not named A.J. Brown ended up catching it. So that's unusual. The fumble that basically decided the game was the product of one of the most egregiously missed face mask penalties you'll ever see. Right? Like, it was just a lot of bad luck against, and credit to the Commies, they played well, but this feels like, that felt like a game where it's like a one-off, where it's like, okay, there's your bad game that you're going to have once every couple of months. And, I think Philly bounces back. Like, Philly, we talked about them, and everybody's like, oh, do they even want to go undefeated? And I hate conversations like that. It's like, yeah, you do. You want to go undefeated. You want to win all your games. If you go 20-0 and win the Super Bowl, you are going to be remembered for all time, and it's going to be great. So screw all that crap about, we want to get a loss in so we don't feel too much pressure. You should feel pressure anyway. It's the NFL playoffs. But that being said, a loss can humble you. A loss can refocus you. And the Colts are an easy target. So I expect them to be refocused and ready to roll.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles as well.
I'm also taking the Eagles. This isn't nearly enough points. Eagles might win this game by 30.
I wouldn't be shocked. Jets at Patriots. The Jets are fetching 3 on the road. Now, these teams played just a couple weeks ago, and they were in New Jersey. And we all got up here and acted like a bunch of jackasses and said, oh my God, this is the worst line of all time, because the Jets were getting 3 points at home against the Patriots, and we were like, oh, the Jets are much better than the Patriots. They're the wrong team's favorite. And then the Patriots kicked their ass. So, check yourself before you wreck yourself here. But yet, the line has been adjusted apparently to indicate that the Patriots are not as good as the line thought they were 3 weeks ago, because they're only laying 3 at home this time. Whereas the previous line would have indicated they should have been laying 9.
Yep.
And, by the way, they would have covered that line because the Jets were terrible that day.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit of a conundrum because I still don't think the Patriots are good. McCorkle is awful. Apparently his teammates hate him, and I totally respect that because he seems like a douche, but, whatever. But then again, you got Zach Wilson, who looks like he's 12, seems to be scared of black people, and just isn't very good at football. So it's kind of a conundrum here. I don't like either of these football players. Don't know what to do with that.
So it comes down to the rest of the team.
I believe
And I think the Patriots, I don't know if they necessarily have the better team around those quarterbacks, but they have the better coach, and they're at home. I'm taking the Patriots.
Were these teams both on bye last week? Because I feel like
The Patriots were, I think the Jets were too, yes.
Okay. Bill Belichick off a bye.
I've got the Pats as well. This is, people who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And that was, like you said, Eric, we were all up on here picking the Jets and talking about how much the Patriots suck, and the Patriots rolled the Jets. I don't see how the Patriots don't roll the Jets again. Like, what has changed?
What's changed, Jesse?
Other than the venue. Yeah. So, I don't know. Zach Wilson. I feel like the Jets should start Joe Flacco. He's played better than Wilson. And because I like Joe Flacco.
That's the
Yeah.
main reason. You
So-
know it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. Commies receiver Dax Milne was Zach Wilson's roommate at BYU, and it was Milne who sort of broke the story about Zach Wilson and Zach Wilson's mother's friend or something. So Zach Wilson's girlfriend at the time then became Dax Milne's girlfriend. So some scandalous tabloid material mixed in as well. All that said, give me the Patriots.
So that whole history, doomed to repeat it. People don't learn from it. Well, you know, this is football, man. You don't know what's gonna happen, man. People suit up. Things get weird. Man, this is brutal because I need to catch up. So I might have to pick the Jets, even though I don't think they're gonna do this. Like, you know what? No, I've got enough time. I'll pick my spot somewhere else. Give me the Patriots. I don't need to do that. Not yet. In like 3 or 4 weeks, I might need to do something like that, but not yet. Oh my God, this line. Rams at Saints. The Saints are laying 4 points, even though the Saints are horrendous. But the Rams are horrendous, so somebody else go, please.
Saints in the dome. I'll lay the points. The Rams have no players. The Saints have some players.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a difference really makes that Matt Stafford is back this week. He logged a full practice today off his concussion, so it looks like he's only going to miss the one game.
Who's he throwing to?
He's throwing to Van Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee, Skoranek,
So nobody.
Oh,
virtually.
So
And his offensive line still
know.
sucks.
Yeah.
And the defense is Swiss cheese.
God, the Saints are so bad.
They are. But sometimes they show up.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and gamble that this is one of those weeks and say the Saints. I don't like laying the 4 points, though.
Yeah, the 4 points is a little tough. I just killed the Saints this week. I don't think them beating the Rams is going to make a difference in that prediction. And then last week, Corey, I believe you used the phrase that the Saints had multiple players who could football, and the Steelers didn't have anybody who could football. And then the Steelers ended up beating the Saints pretty handily. So that logic still applies to this game, and it didn't work last week. But they are in the dome. I'm gonna take the Saints. Again, I don't want to pick the Rams. Like they look like they're due for an ass kicking every single week. Like the Saints show up sometimes.
Yeah.
So we got Lions at Gigantors. The Giants are only laying 3 points, which a little bit of a surprise given the fact that the Giants are
7-2.
still winning games. And the Lions are the Lions.
What are they, 1-8?
Yeah,
Or did they win a second
I
game?
thought they won another game.
Maybe
They
they
beat
won it.
the Bears.
Yeah, they beat the Bears.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, their wins are over the Bears and the Wentz commies.
You know what? F it. Give me the Lions.
Rolling with Man Campbell, baby.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
back. We're back.
We are back, baby.
Evan?
The Lions being back is like Texas being back. Give me the Giants. The Lions are really awful. Their defense is still awful. The Giants are. I mean, the Giants really whooped up on some bad teams and some choking dogs as well. So this is another bad team. Giants should win by 4 points.
So the Lions, when was the last time they were, to say they're back implies that they've been here. They haven't been here since the 50s.
1957.
Yeah, with Bobby Lane playing quarterback. Whereas Texas at least was in the national championship game with Colt McCoy in, 2010?
10 or 9.
Well,
Something
the
like
game
that.
was played in 10, right? Was it? Or was it-
Something like that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the 09
Around then.
season. That was the year that Tebow was crying while he was kneeling down after Nick Saban was just giving it to him. So, the Giants have been resilient. Like I don't think they're good. In fact, I know they're not good. But they've continued to string together wins. They figured out that Daniel Jones can't throw, so make him run. And that's turned them into a respectable offense. Meanwhile, the Lions have Jared Goff and suck. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Giants. I'll lay the 3 points. Gonna need a few more than 3 to get me to back the Lions in that game. All right, so we're moving now to the 4 o'clock window, the late afternoon window, as I guess I should call it. Oh, my God. Raiders at Broncos. Broncos are laying 2.5 at home. The Raiders beat the Broncos in the Death Star early in the season, like week 3, I want to say. But the Raiders are playing so bad. And the Broncos don't give up very many points. And the Raiders give up all the points. Oof. This is brutal. I'll go first this time because I've been, mooching off of y'all for the last 3 picks. So, not that it's made a difference. I'm gonna go with the Raiders, and I'll take the 2.5 points. Mr. Unlimited can't score any points against anybody. The Raiders still have a semblance of an offense, and Josh McDaniels has one of the rare occasions where it's not a coaching mismatch that's not working against him because Nat Hackett PI is coaching the Broncos. So, yeah.
That was exactly where I was going to go with my pick. There is no coaching difference in this matchup, so I have to go with where the talent is, and the talent is fully on the Raiders' side of this game, at least on offense. And the Broncos' offense is not good enough, in my opinion, to take advantage of the Raiders' piss-poor defense. So I'm taking the Raiders.
I just strongly disagree with y'all. I've got Denver and laying the points because the Raiders are really terrible. And Corey, this is what I thought you were saying was that the Broncos defense is really good. The Raiders have a little bit of offense. They're not going to be able to score points against the Broncos defense.
Broncos defense is good. It's not great.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's kept them in all these games while Russell Wilson is slinging picks and
that's fair.
Broncos country.
If the Broncos had scored 18 points in all of their games, exactly 18 points in all their games, they would have 1 loss. That's how bad their offense has been.
Yeah. Right.
And yet they have a lot more losses than
their
that.
Their defense going to keep them in the game.
I think the Raiders can score 19 points in this game.
They already did it once.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're talking about the talent differential. Who had the talent differential last week in the Raiders' most recent game? That would be the Raiders, and they lost to Indy. Like,
Yeah, but that's But that's also, again, Jeff Saturday. We don't know. Maybe he's the second coming of Bill Belichick. You don't know.
He's not.
You know what we do know?
But he's also not
I
Nate Hackett PI or Josh McDaniels.
That's true.
I think Nat Hackett PI is better than Josh McDaniels. I think Nat Hackett PI is in the top 30 of coaches in the NFL.
Oh, man. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I just find it interesting.
Have you seen Josh McDaniels?
Have you seen Nat Hackett PI? I mean,
your boy Cliff Kingsbury. No idea what he's
I just
doing.
love how we have 10 head coaches in the NFL right now who none of them are top 30 head coaches, even though we only have 32 total.
I did an entire thesis and a rant about this a few weeks ago. I hate a quarter of the league's coaches. Absolutely despise
At least.
them. Again, not because they're bad coaches, but because they don't even have respect for the position they hold. It pisses me off. I find it interesting that Evan said, I strongly disagree because he's going to cape up for the Denver Broncos. It's one thing to disagree, but this is a toilet bowl.
Okay. Yeah. I'm fairly certain on the other side.
That's fair because you have been cashing in with the toilet bowls. I will say that. You have been hitting it out of the park, getting these games picked right while Corey and I are we don't know what we're doing. So,
I mean, I guess I have a gift.
I mean, none of us are making any money, but you're losing less than us. So I'll say that much. So you'll have a little more money for Kings Island. Okay, so 425 game, Cowboys catching or laying 1.5 at Vikings. Like, Vikings fans are apoplectic because nobody respects them. Which, the only time you actually get mad about that is when you don't respect your own team. Like, the only time he's like, show us some respect, man. I'm like, the only reason you want it so badly is because you want us to convince you your team can actually win the Super Bowl, and they can't. But anyway, that's my rant. The Cowboys had a stinker, big-time stinker against the Packers. They should have won that game easily. They blew it.
CeeDee Lamb was the only guy who showed up.
Yeah, Dak was terrible. Like, unforgivably bad. Like, that's... Like, people want to give Mike McCarthy gas for going for it on, 4th and 3 or 4, when the alternative was kick a 54-yard field goal that wouldn't even win you the game if you make it. Honestly, like, I don't have a big problem with that decision at all. Like, I thought, like, I think going for it there is fine.
One of the few times that I agree with something Mike McCarthy does.
And the win probability, according to the nerds, was virtually identical either way. Like, it was just a bad situation to be in. Like, you don't want to be 4th and 4, and you also don't want to be trying to kick a 54-yard field goal on the road, in the cold, on grass. Like, that's just not a good combination. But the Cowboys still feel like they should have won that game. The Cowboys feel like they're actually a legitimately good and talented team. They've won a lot in spite of the fact that Mike McCarthy is there. But to Mike McCarthy's, and I use this word very loosely, to his credit, he has stayed out of the way. He hasn't really gone out there and done the dumbest thing imaginable, which seems to be the most fashionable choice for the NFL right now, as we've talked about, where we hate a quarter of the league's coaches. Well, McCarthy has avoided criticism, not just because these guys are overshadowing him, but because he's figured out how to not necessarily...
He's not doing anything. That's why he's avoided criticism. He just stands there and looks round and blue.
That's good enough compared to the standard, including this Vikings coach, who I don't think is good either. He hasn't done anything egregious yet. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't trust him at all. But anyway, I've filibustered enough. I'm taking the Cowboys. The Vikings are, I'm not going to say they're due for a loss. They're just, playing a team that's better than them. And hopefully Dak Prescott doesn't fumble at the 1.
The Cowboys' defense did not impress me this past week. Figure they should bounce back this week. Justin Jefferson's dealing with a toe injury. Hopefully it's not too significant, but we'll see. He was limited today. But Dalvin Cook is still breaking off some big plays. Pretty much won a game. T.J. Hawkinson has been a huge addition for that offense. He's been terrific. Kirk Cousins loves his tight ends, and T.J. Hawkinson's a pretty good one. But I think the Cowboys just have more going for them. I can't imagine Dak Prescott's going to have another game as bad as he had this past week. Elliott may be back this week, which, we'll see what happens with that run game and whether that actually hurts their run game or whether they, do a good job of, complementing, him and Tony Pollard together. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, but that's a tough one.
They're all tough. With that said, I'm
that's
picking
the
Minnesota.
Exercise or whatever Evan said last week.
That's the exercise. That is what we're doing. I got Minnesota. I don't think the Cowboys offense can keep pace with the Vikings offense. If Dak plays bad, right? Like, they're not going to be able to move the ball as effectively, I guess, or as efficiently as the Vikings can. And the Vikings are getting the 1.5 at home.
There's only 2 other games that America gets to watch besides this one, just so we're clear on what kind of Kirk Cousins we can expect to see this week. It's not quite prime time Kirk Cousins, but it's also not 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins. It's somewhere in between.
Well, he didn't look very good against the Bills.
That is a really good point.
He looked terrible against the Bills.
And that was a 1 o'clock
Justin
game.
Jefferson made him look.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 1 o'clock game. Yeah, Jefferson saved the day with that insane catch. Also,
That was amazing.
That was ridiculous. The ball
How did the ball
was
not hit the
simultaneously
ground?
Caught by
because
two
the
people.
Bill
Yeah,
didn't
so-
smack the ball down. He tried to go for the hero pick, man.
Yeah, there were 3 hands on the ball, and only one of them was Justin Jefferson's. The other 2 belonged to a Bills defender, and somehow Justin Jefferson caught the ball.
All right, so quick conversation. Odell's one-handed catch was better than that.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Probably. Yeah.
The only catch that I've seen so far that maybe was more impressive than Odell's was George Pickens earlier this
that
week
was so good.
or earlier this year. But the only reason I would still give the edge to Odell is because there was a pass interference call on the
People
play,
saw that
and he
one.
scored a
it was
touchdown.
Yeah.
Brandon Carr's
And wasn't that the very
kid's
first game
favorite
that was
player.
played in Jerry World?
No, that game was in Giant Stadium, and the Giants
And the
lost.
Giants
that game.
lost.
No, the Odell catch was in. Wasn't that in Jerry World?
No, it was in
Oh.
Giant. It was in
No,
MetLife.
it was at the Giants, and the Giants lost that game. But like, Brandon Carr was the defender on that play, and Brandon Carr, his favorite player, at least when Carr was playing for the Ravens, was Odell Beckham Jr. So there's that as well.
That's funny.
Yeah. Okay, so Jerry World opened in 2009. Odell's rookie year was 2014. So
Oh, okay.
Jerry World opened in 08.
Oh, okay. Well, I got my timeline all messed up.
I thought that the Ravens beat the Cowboys
No,
with the 2
no,
big runs.
No, you're right. 2009.
Yeah, that was the last
You're right.
primetime game, I think.
That was in 08.
Texas Stadium. Yeah. So hey,
That was the last game, period.
yes, my football history is up to snuff. At least I can do that. I can't pick anybody to win.
You can pick the games that already happened.
I remember because I was there. Well, I was watching on TV. So Bengals laying 4 at Steelers. Last time these teams met up, the Steelers won somehow because Joe Burrow had the worst game of his life, and the long snapper got hurt, so they couldn't kick PATs that would have won the game outright. I don't think that's going to happen again. Burrow's found himself. Their offense is playing well. The Steelers are absolute booty. I don't know if TJ Watt's back or if he's playing
He's back.
or whatever, but I don't think it really matters. The Steelers are bad. I know I said that last week against the Saints and it didn't work out, but the Bengals are better. The Bengals are capable of doing some damage. I'm gonna take the Bengals and lay the 4 points.
Watt being back is probably why this line is only 4 in the Bengals' favor. But I agree. I don't see Joe Burrow throwing, 4 picks again like he did in week 1.
Yeah, 4 picks and a loss.
And a fumble.
Yep. Like that was
My
that was such
fantasy-
terrible football. And it's
My fantasy season ended the first play of his day because he threw a pick 6, and that was it for me. I was
and
I'm done.
And it's always tough when it's like the first week of the season too, because like now you're left scratching your head like, is this the Joe Burrow we're gonna have all year? Like, is he just gonna be awful the rest of the season?
Well, and then he played bad against the Cowboys, who had Cooper Rush out there, and they lost that game too.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh no, the Bengals, jeez. But they've seemed to be right in the ship. All right, so
yeah. I'm also taking the Bengals.
Evan's gonna
It's
take
not.
the
I think
Steelers.
Jamar Chase is expected to be back this week. So.
Evan's gonna take the Steelers. I just know it.
I am going to take the
I
Steelers.
knew he was gonna take the Steelers.
He is diversifying his portfolio.
No, he's just kicking
Yes.
our ass by even more. That's what he's doing.
I'm just glad this game was
Yeah.
flexed out of Sunday Night Football.
Evans has now picked 3
Yeah,
straight
I got
lone
the Steelers.
wolf. Evans got.
Yeah.
He's only, but that's it though. Just those 3. Actually, no, you picked the Packers against the Titans too. So you got 4 lone wolf picks compared to Corey's got 1 on the Lions, and I don't think I have any. Jeez.
I thought you did have one.
No, I was trying to talk myself into picking the
You're
Jets.
about to pick one of them.
I
You have the
bowed
Bills. You have the Bills.
out. Oh,
We
okay.
took the Browns.
Okay. I thought, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I got the Steelers. Game is in Pittsburgh. They're getting points. TJ Watt is back. I thought the Steelers had no chance against the Saints last week. That was wrong. TJ Watt being back the Bengals spent all this money and I think draft capital as well on their offensive line, it's still bad. So, who's blocking TJ Watt? Nobody. So, give me the Steelers.
All right, Sunday Night Football. Chiefs are laying 6 on the road, playing the Chargers at SoFi. Evan, you go first.
I've got the Chargers because the Chargers play up to their competition and down to their competition. This is going to be a close game. The Chiefs are going to win because the Chargers are going to blow it. But I think it's going to be a close one. So, give me the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers and the Chiefs seem to only play very close competitive games since Justin Herbert took over after Tyrod Taylor got stabbed. Right? Like, even that game, right? Like, that
game went to overtime.
Yeah, they almost won that game. And then last year, the Chargers beat the Chiefs. I think they beat them at Arrowhead. And then they lost.
I'm pretty sure.
They lost that Sunday night game in overtime because Brandon Staley refused to kick any of the 4 field goals he could have kicked to have won the game because he's an idiot.
Also, they let Travis Kelce score just running like a deer in a meadow.
That did happen, yes.
Just unopposed on the last play of the game for a touchdown for like 50 yards or something.
Yeah. And then this year, the Chargers had the Chiefs dead to rights until they got cute and decided to run hurry up for no reason, even though Evan Ingram was desperately trying to get off the field.
I think it was Gerald Everett.
Gerald Everett, yeah. Evan Ingram plays for the Jaguars, right?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Evan Ingram plays for the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And then Gerald Everett plays for the Chargers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because Gerald Everett had this big play. He had been targeted multiple times on that drive. He was sucking wind, and he's signaling I need to come out. And instead, they run hurry up and target him.
And throw it to him.
And it's a pick six going back the other way. They completely flipped the game. Again, Brandon Staley is an idiot. Like, that's all I have to say. But, like I said, close games. Last week, I predicted the Chargers would cover against the 49ers.
And they did.
They did. It didn't go the way I hoped, which was that Brandon Staley would specifically lose the game for the Chargers. I wish it had.
Maybe that happens this week.
But it feels like it's going to happen this week because it seems like the only way the Chargers lose to the Chiefs, which is kind of crazy because the Chiefs are really good, is if Brandon Staley does something unfathomably stupid. So, but that's the history. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers to cover, but I'm thinking the Chiefs are gonna win because the Chiefs always win games like this.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at too. I'm taking the Chargers.
All right, Monday football night here. We've got the 49ers laying 8 against the Cardinals. I don't know what Kyler Murray's status is. I didn't even know he wasn't going to play this week. He's like a game-time scratch or something like that. 8 points is a lot. Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. I don't know what to make of the 49ers because everybody's like, oh, yeah, look at this team. They're about like 5-4.
Like, they didn't use Christian McCaffrey all that well this past week.
That's true.
Granted, part of that I think was an insistence on getting Elijah Mitchell back integrated into the offense. And to be fair, Elijah Mitchell's a good player.
Yeah.
But you went and got Christian McCaffrey for a reason, even though you knew that you were getting Elijah Mitchell back imminently. It's because Christian McCaffrey is the better player by a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, you don't trade that much capital for Christian McCaffrey while also employing Jimmy Garoppolo if you don't intend for Christian McCaffrey to take over your offense. Like, he's supposed to be all over the field. He's supposed to be the guy, right? Like, he's another guy along with Deebo Samuel where it's just like, just flip him the ball somewhere in space and he'll get all the yards and score all the touchdowns. And they didn't really do that, which is weird. It probably explains why they struggled to win that game. Like, they were behind for most of it. The Chargers were hapless on offense, and they just let it go.
The Chargers did do a very good job in run defense, to be fair.
Yeah, which is pretty
That's saying a lot for them.
Yeah, that's not really what they usually do. So credit to them for that. Corey, you go first.
I'm taking the Cardinals. 8 points is just too much.
Especially on the road.
I don't have any love for Cliff Kingsbury, as listeners to this show know very well. It's very well documented. But 8 points is just too steep. I'm not laying that.
It's a coaching mismatch, but not quite to 8 points, I don't think. I'm taking the Cardinals and the points as well. I just feel like division games are weird. Like, they got to win by more than a touchdown. Jimmy Garoppolo sucks, right? Like, there's just a lot working against that. Like, I think the 49ers should win, but 8 points is too much. All right, Evan, take the 49ers.
I agree. I got the Cardinals. Got the Cardinals. Eric, you mentioned how Christian McCaffrey is supposed to get the ball when they trade all this stuff to get him. But how often does Kyle Shanahan do what he's supposed to do? I feel like Kyle Shanahan tries to outcoach himself by, just getting cute with the lineup and the playing time and targets and whatnot. Like, just get your best players the ball. That's all you have to do. But he doesn't do that all the time. And the Cardinals only play weird games as well. The Cardinals are going to miss an extra point. Whoever plays quarterback, Kyler or Colt McCoy, one of them is throwing a pick six. But it's going to be close at the end, inexplicably. Yeah, it's going to be close inexplicably. The Niners should win, but the Cardinals, they probably lose by 5.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good bet. So that does it for our week of picks. That covers week 11. This is week 11. My goodness. We are getting through this season. And it's leaving me behind in both fantasy and reality. I can't pick them. I can't win the fake football. And just, it's a tragedy. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. You can find this podcast on various podcatchers, including Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon. And if you have a particular podcatcher that we are not on, let us know, and we'll do our best to make that happen for you. You can follow us on Twitter at SportsBallers18. You can follow us individually. Corey is at Corey Puffett. I am at Quagmire67. Evan is at Evan_Ash13. You can also send us email, participate in our fan mail and mailbags. You can ask questions, complain about how much we suck, say that we ramble on too much. Shout out Joe C. Or whatever you want to say to us, you can email us at thesportsballers@gmail.com. And I think that's kind of it, right, guys? So we good? We got some shout-outs. Corey, anything?
I mean, I guess shout out you and Stephen McDonald, who are going to be doing the broadcast on Friday for the first DeMatha Prep Hockey broadcast that we will be.
Wait, hold on. I thought it was Stephen April.
No, I told you this the other day.
You said Stephen McDonald couldn't make it.
No.
Wait, so who's doing play-by-play?
Stephen McDonald.
Okay.
Stephen April couldn't make it.
All right, now I've got it clear. Okay, cool. All right.
Goodness.
You don't let too many Stevens in the booth. This is your fault, Hall of Famer. You should know better than that.
But yeah, it's gonna be the first broadcast that we do of DeMatha's Prep Hockey team since February of 2018. So it's been quite some time. Cool. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, tune in to hear me because I don't know squat about hockey. So mostly listen for Stephen McDonald, apparently. Can't wait.
It'll be a 5:30 face-off on DM Stacks TV on YouTube.
That should be a good time. Evan, got any shout-outs?
Shout out to Justin Verlander, who was named American League Cy Young Award winner while we were recording.
Cool. Yeah, so it's his third one?
Something like that.
Yeah, along with an MVP and a wonderful wife. And 2 World Series rings. So good for Justin Verlander. And my shout-out is a somber one. Rest in peace to Kevin Conroy. For those of you who do not know, Kevin Conroy voiced Batman on several media, probably 15 or 16 different renditions of Batman over the last 35 years. He is the definitive Batman for a lot of people our age, and should be, because he was absolutely fantastic. And he and Mark Hamill as Batman and the Joker, respectively, was just an insane tandem for, as a kid watching Batman growing up. You know, like we know our parents watched Batman. They watched the goofy Adam West one with the kapows and the music and all that stuff. We got a little darker and edgier Batman coming up, and maybe we're better for it. Maybe we're a little worse, but it is what it is. It was great. Kevin Conroy was great, and may he rest in peace. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, Evan is controlling it. We'll be on. Have we settled on Tuesday or?
Yeah, I think Tuesday.
Okay, so we'll be doing our show
Tuesday.
Yeah.
next Tuesday, because Corey's got to get on the road to go to Connecticut for Thanksgiving with Rashonda. So doing the show a little bit earlier, which works out for me because people at the Dance Factory have been like, "Why don't you come to Wednesday classes?" I'm like, "Because I'm busy." Well, now I'm not going to be busy, so I might make an appearance over there and get them off my case for a little while. Shout out if you guys are listening. But anyway, Evan will be doing that. We'll recap Week 11. Probably find out who won MVPs in baseball. Maybe have a little basketball news, but at this point, it's all football all the time. Rivalry week in college and just NFL football in general. Can't wait. Hope to see you then or hear from you, whatever. See you next week.